hour. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with the world. African Focus Incorporated is a community-based organization whose mission is to bring Africans and African Americans together, lead charitable initiatives on the motherland, and educate people from all walks of life on the beauty, legacy, and opportunity of Africa's 54 nations. And it's that time once again when African Focus is teaming up with KBLA Talk 1580 for our 8th annual African Focus Trailblazers Tour. Travel with us in 2026 when we're headed to the southern African nations of Zambia and Botswana for a historical, cultural, and vacation tour led by me, Dominique DePrima, Cultural Ambassador for African Focus Incorporated. Enjoy luxurious accommodations, conscious fellow travelers, shopping, adventures, cultural tours, wildlife safaris, and a giant waterfall, one of the world's 7 wonders, along with a chance to be of service at an orphanage on the continent. Become an AFI trailblazer by exploring the motherland with a nonprofit organization that has members in Africa and America to help roll out the red carpet for you, and together we'll make a difference and have fun doing it. For more information, visit africanfocus.org or call 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300 or africanfocus.org. Whether it's stateside or exploring the diaspora, we're with you every step of the way. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Come go with us.
I'm the Grinch, Cindy Lou Who. I live in Hoopville, who are you? I got a dog, his name is Max. Cough in my cup, that is a fact. I was a Snow, ain't need no coat. Max put that sled off with they head. I don't like love, I don't like fun. When I'm around, Christmas is done. I'm the Grinch.
Hey, how you doing? You scum, it's a pleasure to meet you.
I'm the Grinch.
I'm here to ruin your day, this will end in defeat.
I'm the Grinch.
I get to riding and riding and riding around. That's what they call me when they talk about me around the town. That's me.
KBLA Talk 1580, James Farr sitting in for Dominique DePrima on First Things First. And, you know, I'm feeling a little theme-ish with that track, Miles. You know, I'm not the Grinch, but I certainly love the story of the Grinch and can relate to him. And I don't think that my next guest here can relate to it because he's just such a good brother with a good heart. Ed Sanders is the president of ES Advisors Group, a public affairs consultant with over 20 years experience implementing public policy, advising electoral campaigns, directing community-based and business growth initiatives. Sanders is also a contributor on Fox Soul and a contributor right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Ed Sanders, good morning, brother.
Hey, man, good morning to you. Happy holidays as we get into this Christmas season, man. Hope you and the family are well.
Oh, man, we are doing well, and I'm sure that you and the family are doing well. And last time we talked, it was just before Thanksgiving, and it looks like we both survived. now we're in this crush of Christmas with just 2 more days. Are you set, ready to go? Who does what? What does it look like? We're going to get into this national stuff in just a moment.
Hey, look, I am a chronic procrastinator when it comes to some of the shopping. It just doesn't feel like Christmas to me unless I'm running around a little bit on Christmas Eve. So I still got a little bit to do. Just those little knickknacks to pick up and that sort of stuff. You know, go to the supermarket, get some food going.
I'm not buying that you are a air quote chronic procrastinator. I think if you were consulting a campaign and you were talking about voters, you would just say they're undecided. You would
say I'll call myself a chronic Christmas shopping procrastinator.
You're not ready to commit to the gift, right?
Yeah, exactly. exactly. So.
Man, what a world! What a world! I've been waiting for this this moment to talk with you, especially as soon as those Epstein files, more of the Epstein files were released, and we're seeing that some people were there. It's like peekaboo. You were there once, and now you're gone. What? As my mama would say, what in the Sam Hill is going on?
It's it depends on where you get your news, right?
Okay.
I think if you read, the popular print and you look at the network television news, you're looking at the story one way.
Mm-hmm.
If you digest content off of, social media, you're looking at this Epstein situation a completely different way. And, I don't think either consumer of news content is happy, right? And you could layer it over your politics, whether you're MAGA or progressive, or you could, put it over your national identity. There's a lot to unpack with Epstein. It's funny. I've been trying to figure out my biggest question right now is, I know that picture with Michael Jackson and Diana Ross can't possibly be real. And, that if you're telling me Michael and Diana were mixed up in this, then I have big problems. But that's where you drawing the line. It's like, hold on. That's where I'm drawing the line. Not Michael, not Diana. But I mean, the funny part of that is, you're seeing that picture is fake, right? Or not attributed to, particularly an Epstein case.
Mm-hmm.
And that's some of the misdirection that you have to sift through, and why I mentioned that, where you get your news and how you digest a story matters, because there's a lot of noise, a lot of confetti being tossed. And so you got to try to find a way to sift through it to find some measure of truth in all of these news stories.
But I'm going to jump to a conclusion that Miles made earlier this morning during the break, as we were listening to the Powerball being nearly $2 billion. Right? What'd you say, Miles?
Golly, I thought I won. I had one of those great dreams. I thought I was done, guys.
And that's exactly what Miles was talking about. What a distraction to have folks hanging on a lottery ticket Christmas Eve and wondering about. Leave it to Miles to cut all the way through that and interrogate that. Hey, Ed, when we come forward, you took me where I wanted to go, right? I mean, there are a lot of national stories, and I'm sure you have a laundry list of them that are much longer than your Christmas shopping list. But I want to frame up, as we're talking, and when we come forward, looking at this digital world, right, and TikTok, and we're heading into midterms in 2026. And so as all this stuff is just kind of getting, as you eloquently said and articulated, kind of this confetti out there, right? It's exciting. It's messy. It's not really fun to look at it on the ground, but we're going to pick this up when we come forward. Ed Sanders is joining me. You're listening to First Things First. I'm James Farr. I'm sitting in for Dominique DePrima. When we come forward, only on KBLA Talk 1580, we got your black.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
KBLA Talk 1580 is pleased to partner with the Empowerment Congress once again for their 34th annual summit. The summit's theme is From Vision to Action, a forum to unlock participatory democracy, and will feature a nonpartisan gubernatorial candidate forum focused on issues of importance to the African American community. The summit is the signature public policy-oriented observance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy during the national 3-day holiday weekend that celebrates his life. This year's summit will be held on Saturday, January 17th, 2026 at the California Science Center in Exposition Park from 9 to 11 a.m. Admission is free, but registration is required at KBLA1580.com. All major announced candidates for California governor for the Democratic and Republican Party nominations have been invited to participate in the candidate forum, which will be moderated by Tavis Smiley. An all-star panel of journalists will pose questions to the candidates, and the forum will be broadcast live on KBLA Talk 1580. This is going to be a big year for local, state, and national politics. The political pulse of 2026 beats on KBLA Talk 1580.
If you've been diagnosed with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis, this is what it sounds like to be a million miles away. Imagine being a million miles away. Tremfya guselkumab, taken by injection, is a prescription medicine for adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who may benefit from taking injections or pills or phototherapy. With Tremfya, clearer skin is possible. In clinical trials, at least 70% of patients saw at least 90% clearer skin at 16 weeks. Results may vary. Tremfya is also indicated for adults with active psoriatic arthritis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Ask your doctor about Tremfya. Call 1-800-526-7736 or visit tremfya.com.
The conversation continues right now with Dominic DePrima on First Things First.
Welcome forward. That's right. The conversation does continue right here live on First Things First with James Farr sitting in for Dominic DePrima. And I'm joined by Ed Sanders, and we're taking this kind of 30,000 foot view, reach, overlook of the national landscape as we kind of come to the end of the year. And I thought rather than just kind of recap some stories, Brother Ed, and just kind of what stood out to you, I wanted to give you some framing because I think, well, at least I believe with where we're heading in the coming years and how much social media and apps and digital things are becoming a part of our more and more a part of our daily lives, AI and misinformation and disinformation, and so I'm going all the way back into earlier in the year when Nielsen, who is a media research company that tracks what we do in this space, and they're pointing to that black folks spend about 32 hours on apps and websites on their smartphones and tablets, 2 more hours than the total U.S. population, according to the latest exclusive Nielsen's Diverse Intelligence Series report, engaging black audiences. What does all that say to you, brother?
It's half. The cup is half full, half empty, or however that goes. But depending on how you use it, right? Like that's always the main point to make in something like technology. It's a tool. The technology, the apps, they're all tools. And if you use them to that end, then absolutely, right? You can use it to stay connected to loved ones. You can use it to learn about the world. You can, use it to further good. You can also be misled. And, to your point about the 32 hours a week or whatever it is that folks are spending online or on their apps, we're watching how news, and I think 2025, really from a news perspective, you get to see straight away how narratives are very clearly shaped. We've talked about this before. Social media allows for different sides of a story to be told and widely disseminated. Mm-hmm. And so you get to see how different news organizations take a story, distill it, and how they're really just talking to a consumer base and feeding a consumer base as opposed to what we thought news was, right? And that goes for even the most trusted, and I put trusted in quotes, news services, whether it's the AP or, all of the major papers. We saw particularly in this election, purchased by billionaires. The way they shaped the presidential election was clearly tilted towards, Donald Trump and the oligarchy class.
Mm-hmm.
And, you've just seen this emergence of an oligarchy class in ways in the last year and a half that surprised me. I'll put it that way.
I mean, I'm as I continue to interrogate this, right? What Nielsen is saying about our consumption habits in media and television. They're saying 46 hours and exactly 13 minutes per week watching. I mean, that seems like an incredibly long amount of time. Considering most folks, if they're working full time, I mean, that's 8 to 10 hours a day that you're, away from your electronics or your TV. Does that seem reasonable to you? Because there's no way I could consume that much TV in a week.
No, you can't do that and be functioning. You just can't. I mean, I get it. If you work at a place and there's a television on in the lobby, you can count that, I guess. But I don't see how people anywhere can forge a living consuming that much content. That doesn't make sense.
So if we're reading this and saying, I don't know, right? And maybe we'll give some validity to this research, right? How does that kind of translate when, I'm asking you to put on your consulting hat as in the campaign capacity, elected capacity, like what is someone like Trump, like as we kind of get ready to get into the midterms in 26, and there's some pretty important races here locally and across the country. What are campaign strategists and comms people saying, looking at this type of information?
Well, I think it's the wild, wild west out there right now, right? On television and radio, there was sort of a culture of policing itself around truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
That line is evaporating, rather quickly. But the internet and social media, that line almost never existed, and it all comes back to an ethical campaign, right? Candidates that are running, parties that are talking about the issues. You hope they're doing so in a way that's ethical. I think what worries me and others is that, very clearly with the Trump campaign and some of these MAGA campaigns, they will just say anything, right? They Trump, we can count the number of times Trump lies every time he talks to a mic, right?
Right.
And it's with impunity, but each lie is designed to, take you away from a truth or smear an opponent. And ultimately, I don't know that you could pin it all on Trump. He's the one that jumps out at me the most, but I'm sure there's misdirection on the left as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it's an equal opportunity sort of thing here, but that's probably the biggest impact for me looking at these elections, right? Like, what are the issues that are going to motivate people, and are they being motivated by some truth? Are they just being led down an emotional path, right? I don't like immigrants, and so I'm going to go this route. I don't like black people, so I'm going to vote this way.
Well,
sort of thing.
I mean, so they're saying that 63% of the black folks that they surveyed in this, looking at consumer purchasing habits, are likely to elevate to a new brand based on a social media ad or content, compared to 58% overall. In addition, podcasts drive powerful connections. 73% of black listeners were able to recall a brand name after exposure, compared to 70% overall. My question to you is, because when folks are sitting up somewhere in those ivory towers, and I hate to rehash the 100-day campaign that Vice President Harris had to embark on, which was doomed from its beginning, right? How are folks going to? And I'm talking about traditional Democratic campaigns for Democratic candidates. How are they going to look at the same data and act differently? Like, we have to market a different brand, because I believe folks are looking to upgrade, as they are saying in this, right? They want better, they want different, but it seems like the messaging always ends up being the same, SOS, right?
Yeah, except that, I think we gravitate towards trusted voices, right? And let's just take the weekend, right? What was the I don't know, the America, whatever they were, I don't know what they called that conference, with
the Turning Point
Erica
thing.
Kirk.
Yeah, the Turning Point. Yeah.
So Erica Kirk walks out with Nicki Minaj, right? And all of the buzz that I saw was in sort of the black music world, and you couldn't pay me to take a picture with Nicki Minaj right now, right? The terms thrown out and sort of the sellout and all of that, is for her right now. And so, as a trusted voice, and I don't know that Nicki Minaj was ever a trusted voice to me in terms of politics, but the point being that, we will seek out, the voices and the personalities that we do trust. And, I think folks will get their news from KBLA. They'll listen to Dominique. They'll listen to you. They'll listen, to people that they have some measure of trust. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be able to push, a Nicki Minaj on me and have me change my voting habits. You know what I mean? You may try,
right?
But, that's not gonna work.
Yeah. No, when I first saw that, that was one of those moments where I wanted to believe that it was AI generated, right? Like somebody has a sense of humor. Yeah. And I said they shouldn't have did Nicki like that, but then well, there you have it. This idea, in campaigns. We often hear that this is the most important election of your life. and I'll sit there like every time saying, knock it off. Stop saying that. Because to me, it just disenfranchises that person who actually bought that lie. What's going to look different in 2026 from a strategy standpoint? I'm clearly not a Trumper. I'm much more progressive leaning, and I'm not a Democrat either. But I certainly don't like either one of those sides of the aisle in terms of how they've governed and whatnot. But we need something different. I'm not endorsing a Democrat candidate, but whoever is going to run, somebody has to do something different. Why or how will this not become the most important election in our life?
Well, it's always going to be the most important election because it's the election of now, right? It's the one that impacts your life right away. And
right.
So, it's always going to be the most important. Or most urgent, let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Look, this one is going to be one for the ages that you're going to look back on. I think going into this one, and I think through the years, it'll be important to kind of realize how unsure we were about our electoral system. Are these votes being counted? Are we being cheated at the polls? Is there even a shot at it? And those are real questions. And it's the pendulum swings back and forth a little bit on this, right? Like, because if I go back, 4 or 8 years or whatever it was, the MAGA people feel the same way, right? Like, they were so enthralled with Trump that they couldn't believe that he lost in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's all this doubt in our electoral system, and the longer that doubt stays, I think the more trouble we are as a country, right? You know, and I don't know that America is forever, right? Most empires have fallen, and they usually fall from within. And it seems to me if the American electoral system has lost the faith of American citizens, that the American government won't survive that, and it can't survive that, right? I don't know. That's kind of what I look at when I think about this.
That empire falling part, right? Like some people, I first of all, I understand that historically, right? Every dynasty in the history of civilization none has lasted to the present day. All right, I think that's just a safe way of saying it. But for others, you know, that's. I mean, it almost seems like that gives, you know, if I'm on the other side of you, it gives me more to pull for and fight for and try to bring you over to my side and, you know, kind of my belief system. You know, looking into 26, you know, yesterday I had Bryant Odega on, a young activist, Gen Xer, Gen Zer. Young political candidate, and you know he had a lot of enthusiasm around Jasmine Crockett. You know, you and I are in alignment in terms of Prop 50, although my wife got the final say on that one. I won't ask you to tell on yourself, but I did tell him, you know, I wasn't a supporter of it, and what my concerns were with gerrymandering, in that typically folks forget, even after, you know, it's supposed to sunset on this thing, like they will get used to, you give people power and they keep going with it. But my question to him is someone like a Jasmine Crockett, who, you know, is a beacon of hope in community, strong black voice, you know, outwardly spoken, all of those things, right? Is she wasting her time running for Senate in Texas? Does she have a chance?
I mean, yes. You know, Texas is in play nationally, right? And, you know, Trump may have pushed it back in the last election cycle, but Beto O'Rourke was close. And, you know, it's like Georgia. The state is changing demographically. The state and the culture of the state change along with it. And in some cases, it just takes time. You know, I conversely here in California used to do some electoral pre-work in areas like San Diego, Riverside, San Bernardino, and those were typically red, you know, Republican strongholds. And, you know, now you can run progressive Democrats in a lot of these areas and win. And the same thing is happening in Texas, right?
Ed, I'm sitting here lost on your words. We hard on the break. News is up next. Stay with us. KBLA Talk 1580. We got your black.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Alexandria Ikamoni with BIN News Now. Several Democratic members of Congress are describing what they witnessed inside the Broadview ICE Processing Center in Illinois. U.S. Representative Jesus Chuy Garcia spoke after he and his colleagues toured the facility with a court order.
What we witnessed reflects a system that treats human beings as inventory. They call them bodies, and they call it removing them as fast as possible.
The group was denied entry in June. 3 black inmates who escaped from a jail in Georgia are back behind bars. Officials announced the inmates have been captured and returned to custody. Officials say the inmates all have violent criminal histories. Snoop Dogg will be adding NBA analyst to his resume next month. He will join NBC's Peacock broadcast for the January 5th game between the Golden State Warriors and Los Angeles. Get BIN News Now on demand on the iHeartRadio app.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
One year ago, flames tore through Altadena and Eaton Canyon, changing lives forever. From the ashes, can a beloved community rise stronger? Hi, I'm Dominique DePrima, host of First Things First, weekday mornings, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. here on KBLA Talk 1580. And I'm inviting you to join us on Wednesday, January 7th, as we broadcast live from Perry's Joint on the one-year anniversary of this horrific and devastating fire. We're remembering those we lost, celebrating the heroes and sheroes who answered the call, and honoring the resilience of neighbors who are determined to rebuild together.
I've been a strong black woman a long time, and I can't just break down now.
Hear the stories of survival, the voices of recovery, the spirit of community that the fire couldn't destroy, and yes, the angst of those who still do not know where they go from here.
Yeah, where am I go?
At KBLA Talk 1580, we don't just cover the story, we're part of this community, and we've done our level best to hold those responsible for this fire accountable. And 1 year later, we're still standing together.
It is my hopes that black people will rebuild those homes.
So join us live at Perry's Joint, 2051 Lincoln Avenue in Pasadena, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Wednesday, January 7th, as we commemorate the 1 year anniversary of the Altadena Eaton Canyon fire. Because some stories demand to be remembered.
This too shall pass.
This KBLA Talk 1580 Town Hall is sponsored by LA Fire Justice.
Are you coughing a lot, especially at night? Are you often short of breath? Are you using your rescue inhaler often? These could be signs that your asthma is not under control. To keep your asthma in check and help prevent an asthma attack, ask your healthcare provider for an asthma action plan. This is a personalized plan you create with your doctor that shows you what to do and what medicines to help control your asthma and to use when you're having a hard time breathing or when you're having an asthma attack. Please don't wait until you're having an asthma attack. Do something about it now. Schedule a visit with your healthcare provider today to make that action plan and take control of your asthma. For more tips and resources on the management of asthma, visit luma-edu.com. This message is brought to you by Amgen and AstraZeneca.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with the world. African Focus Incorporated is a community-based organization whose mission is to bring Africans and African Americans together, lead charitable initiatives on the motherland, and educate people from all walks of life on the beauty, legacy, and opportunity of Africa's 54 nations. And it's that time once again when African Focus is teaming up with KBLA Talk 1580 for our 8th annual African Focus Trailblazers Tour. Travel with us in 2026 when we're headed to the southern African nations of Zambia and Botswana for a historical, cultural, and vacation tour led by me, Dominique DePrima, Cultural Ambassador for African Focus Incorporated. Enjoy luxurious accommodations, conscious fellow travelers, shopping, adventures, cultural tours, wildlife safaris, and a giant waterfall, one of the world's 7 wonders, along with a chance to be of service at an orphanage on the continent. Become an AFI trailblazer by exploring the motherland with a nonprofit organization that has members in Africa and America to help roll out the red carpet for you, and together we'll make a difference and have fun doing it. For more information, visit africanfocus.org or call 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300 or africanfocus.org. Whether it's stateside or exploring the diaspora, we're with you every step of the way. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Come go with us.
KBLA Talk 1580 congratulates Malik Books on celebrating 35 years in business.
It's a celebration.
Malik Books proudly houses one of the largest African American and diverse children's books in the nation. This is the perfect time to pick up holiday reads, meaningful gifts, and to support literacy in our community. For 35 years, Malik Books has stood strong in the Black Book Revolution, uplifting stories that heal, inspire, and transform. One reader at a time. Change your thoughts, change your life. Books are the gift that keeps giving. From all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, congratulations to Malik Books on 35 years of culture, pride, and community.
We're not for everybody, but we're for everybody. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580, welcome forward. James Farr sitting in for Dominique DePrima, and I got Ed Sanders on the line with me, and we haven't disagreed. I think we mostly are agreeing, but, you know, every time Ed is in the seat, and whether it's me here or I'm lucky enough to just listen in to him and Dominique, he always brings a perspective that I say, man, I appreciate that. Like, I'm feeling that, Ed, so I do always appreciate your voice, your insight, and one day when I grow up, I'm going to be just as smart as you, brother. I'm working on it, though.
But I appreciate that. I don't know if I'm getting smarter or just more set in my ways at this point.
You know, well, you're not stuck in your ways, as my wife family in Mississippi would say. You ain't stuck. You just settling into your ways, right? And you're not moving off of there. Real quick before we jump into this, Ed, you KBLA delegation would have just heard the promotion Dominique DePrima read on air for the January 7th 1-year remembrance of the deadly and devastating Altadena fire. Dominique, and first things first, I'll be there with her and other KBLA delegation members. We're hosting a live 3-hour remote broadcast from Perry's Joint, and we're inviting the community to come out and survivors to come out. And, you know, it's Ed, it's kind of like let me pick my words. It's the beginning of the day on the 1-year remembrance that would change thousands of lives. I think I framed that how it's not a party. But nor is it a funeral, right? It is really community coming together, you know, just to kind of start the day off. I think it's a good way of saying it. Any thoughts on this fire? Nearly 1 year later, we'll jump back into this national stuff in just a second.
Yeah, no, I think you frame it well. I think we'll certainly take a moment to remember and pray for the souls that were lost during the fires. For us in the Altadena area, as an African American community, you know, I think you look at just the historical community of African Americans there, and you know, certainly the devastation and loss of community that occurred. You know, we'll explore this from so many different ways. There's a loss of wealth, you know, with homeowners, and when you lose a home and what that means. We'll investigate, you know, fire response. I'm sure, you know, why it took so long for that region to get you know, the help it needed. You know, the aftermath. You know, the insurance market, the government assistance, you know, but we'll also see the great stories. We'll see how people came and volunteerism came, you know, to the forefront. Food and shelter and, you know, materials, blankets, all that sort of stuff. You'll see the good side of people. Right? There are so many different elements to this story that, you know, KBLA is right to market a year later. Mm-hmm. We'll have to market 2 years later, and we'll have to market 10 years later and beyond, because, what this ultimately does is take you back into history. And I hope everyone does this I hope we do this as an element, is start to highlight the African-American communities historically that we have lost.
Right.
Whether you're talking about the interstate highway system coming through, obviously Tulsa and race riots and what it did to, communities across the country. A community is not granted. It has to be built and it has to be protected. And that's something that we got to always stay at the forefront of our minds and energy for.
Absolutely. We've, on my show, Conversation Live, Altadena Rising, we're self-assigned, and we have assumed the show of record, in documenting this. Yeah. And while in community with some folks, I was explaining to them, this is not a local story. This is this is a global story. I mean, when you look at the totality of everything that happened, it warrants being right up in there, right alongside of all these other tragedies that you've talked about. And then coming into this 1 year, as you well know, folks are many of them no better off than they were, 50 weeks ago. With insurance and all the things that are set to kind of run out and whatnot. And so what we're able to do now is, now that the data is coming in, the research is coming in, we've done a good job, I believe, in our first 42 episodes of establishing that this was a Black utopia, right? I loosely say that if Wakanda were a real place, Altadena would be one of its tribes. And just to kind of paint that picture of how unique and special, like, I believe there is really vibranium somewhere in Altadena. I just haven't found it yet. but the community is so special that's what it is. So we appreciate LA Fire Justice for supporting that live broadcast. But can we count on the federal government to do anything? Is that a far gone conclusion? And do community just have to, because the state won't do it because they want the federal to do it. The county won't do it because they said the state should do it, but the Fed should do it. Folks need help. Is that a pipe dream?
It's a pipe dream with this administration, to be clear.
I didn't want you to say that, Ed. That was not. Now you hurt. You cut me. It's the truth.
Yeah, but the administration changes, right? We're going to end that administration in a couple years, and at that point, I hope that a change in party and a change in focus, and the level of pettiness out of the White House, can bring some measure of relief. I fear it's going to be, late. Obviously it'll be late. It'll be years down the road. I think, to your point, California should do more. I think California is culpable, in the tragedy. The wildfires that ravage our state in the western United States every year, we have to learn to talk about more, and what fire, the threat of fire is. It's very similar, and it has impacts, right? The same thing that's threatening us with fire, the dryness and the drought and the water, lack of rain and waterfall, also impact us on, our drinking water and availability of water. And, we've got to talk about particularly fire, right? This one in Los Angeles, in the Palisades in Altadena, touched us very closely. But there are all sort of communities up and down the state that are in fire zones and really dangerous areas. And what the response looks like and how we protect people's lives and property is a real question.
Well, so here's where what I've learned, Ed, and where I'm going to invite you to kind of look at this differently, right? And this goes right into our misinformation and disinformation, right? And right now you may be misinformed, and if you repeat this afterwards, you may be choosing to share disinformation, right? The facts are, we use this language wildfire, right? There was nothing wild or forest or arborist, if you will, in terms of what arborist, if you will, in terms of the fire, right? This was an urban fire. It was a city fire in kind of a quaint foothill community. I think when the national audience here's this idea that it was a wildfire. Not to say that we haven't had plenty of them here in the state of California, right? But these were structures, thousands of them.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you on that side of it, James. I think one of the things that makes the Los Angeles topography so challenging for fire professionals is that you have these rolling hills, whether, from the Pasadena to the Santa Monica Mountains, where you've got dry brush and you do have structures built in those hills. And while that makes it urban, it is also, a very much a tinderbox that is like a wildfire as well, right? And I don't. It's not. Listen, we're not here to argue about that point.
No,
but
sir. No.
The dry brush, if not trimmed back and managed, is dangerous to whether the mountain has structure or not.
True.
Will burn, true. Right? And that's my point on it. And if I need to use a new term other than wildfire, I'm happy to do so. But to me, the threat
structural, urban. I mean, I think it's important because it matters, right? If you live in Altadena, you saw nothing wild about this fire, right? If you kind of understand what I mean, it kind of tropes off into the jungle. I know that's not your intention, but that's the language that kind of gets moved around. It's exotic when it's the Palisades, right? But it's third world jungle when it's black folks up in Altadena. Ed, we're going to keep this conversation moving forward. When we come forward, I want to talk more about that media, how Americans do or do not trust us here in the media, right? As we move forward into this new season, this new year, get your final thoughts for 2025. Ed Sanders is here. James Farr is here. I'm in for Dominique DePrima. KBLA Talk 1580. We got you black.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with the world. African Focus Incorporated is a community-based organization whose mission is to bring Africans and African Americans together, lead charitable initiatives on the motherland, and educate people from all walks of life on the beauty, legacy, and opportunity of Africa's 54 nations. And it's that time once again when African Focus is teaming up with KBLA Talk 1580 for our 8th annual African Focus Trailblazers Tour. Travel with us in 2026 when we're headed to the Southern African nations of Zambia and Botswana for a historical, cultural, and vacation tour led by me, Dominique DePrima, Cultural Ambassador for African Focus Incorporated. Enjoy luxurious accommodations, conscious fellow travelers, shopping, adventures, cultural cultural tours, wildlife safaris, and a giant waterfall, one of the world's 7 wonders, along with a chance to be of service at an orphanage on the continent. Become an AFI trailblazer by exploring the motherland with a nonprofit organization that has members in Africa and America to help roll out the red carpet for you, and together we'll make a difference and have fun doing it. For more information, visit africanfocus.org or call 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300 or africanfocus.org. Whether it's stateside or exploring the diaspora, we're with you every step of the way. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Come go with us.
If you've been diagnosed with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis, this is what it sounds like to be 1,000,000 miles away. Imagine being 1,000,000 miles away. Tremfya Guselkumab, taken by injection, is a prescription medicine for adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who may benefit from taking injections or pills or phototherapy. With Tremfya, clearer skin is possible. In clinical trials, at least 70% of patients saw at least 90% clearer skin at 16 weeks. Results may vary. Tremfya is also indicated for adults with active psoriatic arthritis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Ask your doctor about Tremfya. Call 1-800-526-7736 or visit tremfya.com.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where everybody is somebody and nobody is a stranger. You belong here.
That's right. You do absolutely belong here. I belong here. Miles belongs here, and Ed Sanders is joining me. He is definitely he belongs here. Ed, the chat is going off. Dominique does like 17 things at one time and host a show. I forgot to even go back and check into the chat. Let's see. There's a compliment.
That is popping today.
Yeah, I see.
Love that.
Yeah, there's a compliment from Jacqueline Anderson on my Grinch shirt. I'm sorry. No one compliments me on the Grinch shirt, but Jerry Anderson wanted you to give us some advice on, how to take the White House back, and if the government fails, which faction takes its place. And is that any better for black folks? That's an excellent question. Now, all right, yeah. You know what? I'm going to switch the frame, Ed, because I want to sit with that for the rest of the year. If the empire falls on December 31st.
What happens?
What happens?
I'm going to Canada.
I hadn't thought about that. Thank you, Jerry. What do we do now?
Man, those are, I don't know if we can do that in 7 minutes. That's a series of movies that have to come out. I think we've seen the prequel in the Star Wars movies. Look, the way you have seen this administration, and let me put the fearful side out there first. The way you've seen this administration purge, what does he call it? The America First people, and put, these white supremacists all over this country. Mm-hmm. I would be very fearful of, just the control of that group. I tend to suspect that group is, well armed and just loves to fight and maim people. So I do worry about that group. I don't think that group wins. I think God has a better plan for us as people, and we'll find a way to get through something like that. But doing our best to not let that happen, right?
Okay.
Like right now,
that's the bad, because I was headed to your house or Jerry's house because I figured y'all had an answer. What's the good?
The good is that no matter how dark it seems to get in this country, there's always a surprise and always something to look to that motivates you. We're the type of people that follow the news and follow the politics, and at times it can be dark. But then you look and you see something coming on the future, right? I would not have predicted a Jasmine Crockett and that I would follow Jasmine the way I do, right? But I see it. I see her building, and I like what she's doing. The country just it keeps evolving, and as a people, we keep evolving. So we'll see.
In our world, we're media. At least some say, right? We're media when they need something, and something else when they disagree with us, right? But right. As we get ready to kind of ease it out of here, hope for people, what they should be trusting from media, tips that they can, because we didn't get all the way into the weeds of the TikTok falling into the hands of Trump sycophants and other foreign interests, and just how much we may see in next year and the coming years, the disinformation campaigns, right? Targeted campaigns with the sole intent of disrupting, folks voting. Should folks trust media? What should they be practicing? What's the good advice that Ed Sanders has for them as we get ready to move up out of here?
Yeah, we started the show with this, and it's a good way to segue out. Developing your cadre of trusted news, right? And if it is the truth that we spend this much time on technology and apps and that sort of thing, make it positive, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a victim in this too, right? I scroll, and
mm-hmm.
that's how I spend some idle time as well. But there's one ad that keeps coming across that just catches me and motivates me. It's the take the 15 minutes a day to learn a new AI app or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, it has made me more productive. I enjoy looking at these new apps and trying to figure out how I can incorporate them into, my professional life, finance management, information gathering, all of that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important for us, and I mean this part, it's important for us to not remain stagnant, right? The world is changing so quickly. The technology is coming forward. What we do with tools as a people is always beautiful, right? Throw a blank piece of paper out, and an African American is going to write the best prose you've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Throw a basketball on the court, you're going to see the best, physical artistry you're ever going to see. And so, throw technology out there and wait to see what our community and what our brightest do with it, and incorporate it. Now, for us as everyday people, we've got to stay diligent in our focus, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
KBLA, James, you, Dominique, are outstanding at bringing forward guests that have researched issues, that understand issues and speak to issues from the betterment of our community. And we've got to be able to identify those folks, follow them on social media. So as they're disseminating more information, you're getting it, and you're staying rooted in a truth that helps us. And that's, if I have to jump off and say a Christmas prayer for everybody, that's what I hope we do.
That's Ed Sanders, y'all. I would get in between that and tell you to practice some good digital hygiene. If it's stuff you don't like, check uninterested. Don't park there. Cleanse your algorithm. Ed Sanders, thank you so much, brother. Enjoy this Christmas season. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Happy New Year if we aren't able to talk. News is up next. Then my brother gonna talk about Shoot Your Shot. Chris Farr, NBA basketball, only on KBLA Talk 1580. We got your black.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Alexandria Ikamoni with BIN News Now. Several Democratic members of Congress are describing what they witnessed inside the Broadview ICE Processing Center in Illinois. U.S. Representative Jesus Chuy Garcia spoke after he and his colleagues toured the facility with a court order.